So how can you use technology? How can you move forward to develop information that's relevant? Well, you may need to change your processes. Okay? And not just your content delivery processes. You may have to look at the processes in total, including the product development processes, and marry those a little closer. Get the product development in tune with what are your users' needs. What's the feedback that the customers are giving you, and use that information as you develop both your content and the product. If your product development team considers the documentation process just a necessary evil, you're going to have a problem, because you're not going to get the salient information that you need to provide your customers with what they need to move forward. Right? As you look at your processes, optimize them. Get rid of anything that's really not going to help deliver both products. And that's what your content is. It's a product. Right? It may not immediately generate revenue, but it is vital to the revenue stream. Right? So evaluate your processes, take a look at them, figure out how to make them better, and gear them towards your customer success, because that's the key. If your customer is successful, they're going to come back again and again and again. And you get a good return on investment for that. I've seen companies, for example, Lulu.com, their processes were absolutely different than they are today. And they have on the order of 15,000 books published a day from their original 3 a month. Big ROI. Work with your customer. Bring them in. All right. Service and Support Professionals Association says that there are 3 components for customer loyalty. There's bonding, personalization, and empowerment. If your customers feel that you really care about them, if they feel that they are part of your process, they're going to be a little more loyal to you than if you keep them at arm's length. You have to give them the right answer and a positive experience every time they're in contact with you. Case in point, just recently I tried to pay my taxes electronically. Well, a typographical error caused that payment to be greater than it should have been. And I turned around and I got in touch with the state and said, can I stop this? And the state said, no. You can't do that from our end. You have to go to your bank and get it done from their end. And when I called the bank and said, can I stop this? They said, well, no, because they've never drafted against you before, so we don't have an identification for them that we can use to stop the payment. Was I a very happy customer at that point? Absolutely not. Am I rethinking my methodologies of paying my taxes in the future? Absolutely. So you have to make sure you have a positive service experience with your customers at all times. Speak to your customer as an individual. I know this is difficult because you have models of your customers, but if you don't get it to the point, as Larry mentioned, where that person feels real to you, if you've got a model that just seems static and stale and distant, you're not going to be as successful. Back in the 80s, technical communicators, writers, editors, corporations had this corporate voice that they tried to maintain, and they wrote guidelines to that corporate voice because they wanted to make sure their customer heard that voice. And that basically put up a wall between the corporation and the customer. As Pink Floyd says, we have to tear down that wall, because that wall is keeping us from being effective. Right? It absolutely destroys the personalization process because you don't feel connected and your customers don't feel connected. Will they come back? The answer to that is probably not. As you engage your customers and make them your partners, right, they become empowered. Your customers say, I can make a difference. Okay? In fact, when I started this career, it was because I wanted to make a difference. Okay? I was a programmer. I turned around and said, I need to get this better. All right? Once I got in and I learned how to become a technical communicator, and I made things better, and I got the feedback that, yes, I'm making a difference. That's very empowering. All right? So I was a customer of the technical communications process, and now I am in that role, and I'm turning around and saying, okay, how can we empower people? Make sure your support is uncomplicated. Make sure getting that feedback to you and incorporating it and pushing forward in that and getting the content updated and making sure that the submitter realizes they made a difference works. Get a meaningful relationship with your customer. Work that process. Okay? You want those customers to feel part of the team. Right? You wind up with a meaningful relationship for everyone you have contact with. Right? And how do you do these things? Again, you can do them through a survey. Probably not the best methodology, but it works. All right? Observe them directly. If you can go out to where they are and see where they're working, how they're working, how they're using the information currently. Ask them how they would prefer to use the information. Do they want the information on their smartphone? Okay? If they do, okay, can you change your processes to fit that? Will you be able to provide your information in a manner that fits the output device? As Larry brought up, if you've got something that relies on flash and you send it to a device that does not support flash, you've just taken your information and made it worthless. Right? So make sure that you know where it's going to be used. Create processes that support all output devices if you need. Make that content tailor itself to that consumption. Okay? And ask the customer. The customer is going to really appreciate the fact that you are now saying, let's be partners. I want you to be successful. Help me succeed to help you succeed. These are keys, and they will appreciate it. As Sean Smith said, lead rather than simply manage and respond. Get them on the same boat with you so that you can have a meaningful relationship with that customer and be successful with the content that you're providing. So I've said all I can say. Let me pass it back to Larry so he can wrap this up a little bit for us.